This is What Radio, back at it again with another decade. Today's topic, the 80s. Annabelle, why don't you tell us a little bit about the 80s?
The 80s? Well, I wasn't really born back then, but let me get you. That was so cheesy. Okay, back in 1980, Pac-Man was released on May 26th.
How far away?
We're in 2016. I'm trying to educate these people, Brie. Okay, back in 1980, Pac-Man was released on May 22nd, along with John Legend being shot and killed, which was one of the lead singers in the Beatles.
Do you remember any Beatles songs?
I remember Hey Jude. Do you remember any?
I wanna hold your hand.
Okay. Also in 1980, Ronald Reagan is elected as president. Now, Ronald Reagan was one of the members for the Western alliances, including the US, UK, and France. Now, along in this, in Germany in, I believe, 1961, when the Berlin Wall was being constructed, it was split into two, which meaning Russian had the east of Berlin, and then Western alliances had the west.
Why does Russia need more land?
Because Russia.
It's Russia.
Like,
don't they have enough with like bears and like,
you know, Stalin? Wasn't he president? President, whatever he was.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, Germany decided to construct the Berlin Wall, which about 171 people died trying to get over and under this wall because they didn't want. They wanted to stop refugees from east to west. And I remember Kennedy saying, a wall is a lot better than a new war, because if they wouldn't have had this...
Is it?
Is it really?
Do you think Trump's gonna get it? Do you think the Mexicans are gonna be happy about this?
No, we're just gonna try to run over it again.
You know where tacos come from.
It's the best food ever. But this is my song. If y'all can't hear any of this, 80s music is playing marvelously in the background. The Berlin Wall was a 12-foot tall and a 4-foot wide mass of reinforced concrete that was topped with enormous piping that made climbing overhead impossible. In 1989, the wall was torn down at the end of the war. And the war was the Cold War, which ended in 1991. Okay, now for the reasoning for there having being a West and an East Germany, Germany was split, causing tensions within the Allies and Stalin. On August 13th, Germany sealed off East Berlin from West Berlin, which happened overnight.
Man, Germany had it going for them, didn't they?
I know. I mean, after World War II, it was just straight downhill for them.
Anyway. Also, MTV was launched in 1981. Also in 1981, AIDS is identified in the U.S. And in 1983, Motorola introduced the first mobile phone in the U.S.
Hey, you're forgetting in 1982, E.T. was released. That was a good movie.
I mean...
Ouch.
That's not what he said.
Is that not? Oh, man, I'm probably quoting something
from
Family
Home.
Oh, Home.
You almost had it.
Okay. In 83, Microsoft released its first Word, their word processing programs.
Man, no wonder school uses it so much.
It's been around since before Mr. Woody was here.
Also, in 1984, MTV begins the Video Music Awards.
Also known as the VMAs, which is very widely popular these days.
I mean, that's all they do now. Well, that's not all they do. Now they have shows and stuff, but it used to just be music.
Yeah, but besides music, now all they have is these 16-year-old pregnant girls going around here. Okay, also going on in 1984, Ghostbusters, Terminator, Gremlins, and Nightmare on Elm Street were all released on the same year.
Half of those movies I've never seen before.
Same.
Okay, so we're going to go into a little bit of the Iran-Contra affair that happened in 1985-ish. Okay? So, there was a little bit of supporting of some bad people, okay?
Oh, no, isn't there always?
President Reagan just decides to support the Nicaraguan rebels called Contras. Okay? And these people fight by kidnapping, torturing, executing, and raping civilians, including children.
God bless America.
I mean... Okay, so in 1984, the U.S. bans all aid to these countries, which was one of their smarter ideas.
Are you telling me?
So, they ban it, and then they put an arms embargo against Iran. Well, Reagan, being the president he was...
It was a good year for Reagan, wasn't it?
all of a sudden negotiates with them, and... Well, they took 7 hostages. Okay? 7.
Oh.
He kind of, talks to them and negotiates with them, gets 5 of them released. 5 of them. Well, people are going to wonder why 5 of them got released.
Yeah, like whatever happened to those other 2? They just die off?
Hold on. Okay, so they get released, and then someone named Shira exposes a deal in which America sold weapons to Iran for the hostages, even though there was a ban on it.
There's always something happening in the U.S., isn't there?
Okay, even though there's a ban on it, they still sell them. So, but Reagan denies having done anything like that.
Of course he does.
So, then the Iranian government confirms the deals exist, forcing Reagan to admit he broke the arms embargo. To sum it all up, people found evidence that they did this, and people were caught destroying the evidence that he did this. I mean, conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy Illuminati free.
Okay, and it ends up that the U.S. sold 2,512 anti-tank missiles and 200 anti-aircraft missiles to Iran, and still the 2 hostages were never released through the deal.
They just never were spoken over by. God, just see babies. 85 was a good year for most of us, wasn't it? Most 42 people that never got found.
We were never born.
I know, act like we don't about this. But a couple little things that weren't as most significant as that happening in 85 was, Michael Jordan being named as the NBA's Rookie of the Year. The Goonies and the Breakfast Club also coming out in 85. I haven't seen Breakfast Club, but I know the song.
Have you seen the Goonies?
I have not seen the Goonies.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm very non-pop culture savvy. Going on into 86, mad cow disease is identified in British for the first time. Britain, my bad. In Britain.
We come from Texas.
Now, a little bit going into more history about Rwanda, which this is a whole bunch of, about the more genocides that happen a lot in Asia, more or less, or Middle East. My bad, Middle East. This isn't Africa.
Honestly, those people just like killing each other.
Yeah, all these extremists. This actually happened this actually all first started off in 1959 with the tribes of Hutta, I can't really describe it, and the Tutus, or Tutsis. These tribes, they didn't like each other a lot in Rwanda, and one of them, of course, dominated the other, assassinating and killing a lot of these people. It was more of the Hutu that outnumbered 2 other tribes, one of them being the Tuskis. There's actually a social revolution that happened where an election took place, and the Hutus majority of it won. That's what caused all these killings and all that of the Tuskis. Tuskis were exiled. It wouldn't go away. Many Tuskis women were slaughtered. Now, actually, I was watching a documentary on this, and of course I always am. And I watched a lot of this saying that not many Americans, no one knew about this. They kept this secret. So when they found all this out, everyone was like mortified, like, why was America not helping? And I was like, oh my gosh, so many children and women and men from the Tuskis tribe were all just slaughtered and killed, and it was to the point where they'd wake up every day and they'd always have to find a body to go and pick up and, go bury or something. And it was a large amount of body counts in this. There's There's a lot of different controversial things about this. A lot of people say that the U.S. just kind of looked away from it because they really didn't want to get into this. I mean, 85. Then the 80s was already getting into an intense year for them.
I mean,
a lot of the refugees from the Tuscans tribe went into Uganda, and they started to form kind of like a rebellion type army group that would come back and kill all the Hutus. My bad. Now, a lot of these Tuscan tribes, they were angry, you know, like, obviously they're murdering and killing all of their people. But they were also angry because when they were still in Rwanda, when the Hutu took over, they were all denied education, government positions, and were subject to labor forces. All they wanted was independence in Rwanda. They just wanted to be able to do their own. But after the Tuscans ended up fleeing the country through all these killings, more than over 200,000 Tuscans still died during all of this. And it was a very tragic moment that I think, you know, the U.S. could have helped out a little bit more. But that's just my take on it. And that all started, this was just all what was beginning from 1959 to 1960. And all this really started happening toward the end of the 80s. It really started in around 1994. Yeah, a lot of deaths.
Okay, also in 1987, the Fox Tele Network began operations. Also, some movies that came out were Stand By Me in 1986 and Batman in 1989.
See, I actually watched Batman out of all these movies that we're listing off here today.
That's the only one?
No. A lot of things happened in the 80s. A lot of, you know, death, but a lot of gooder things happened as well.
Gooder.
Gooder's a word now.
Ending with our last topic, we have the Persian Gulf War, which started around August 2nd, 1990. So this is already towards the end of the 80s. But relations between Iraq and the U.S., not good.
Obviously.
I mean, from past stuff, you know, it's just not been good. So Iraq had an alliance with the Soviet Union during the Cold War, and we helped Iraq with war against Iran in the 90s and built Iraq up, but also left it just, it was messed up. So Iraq wants to take over Kuwait just because they feel, you know, that if they have Kuwait, the oil that Kuwait has, they'll have it, and, you know, they just want more power, you know?
Obviously, that's what everybody wants in here.
So, they surprise invade Kuwait.
Surprise invade. Surprise attack.
And, you know, Saddam, which is their leader, claims victory after a few days. So, the United Nations come together, and they really want a calm ending to this war. Nice. And, of course, Iraq doesn't want that, so they don't agree with it, and they're put on a trade embargo, and the U.S. hopes to contain Iraq's influence to prevent them from controlling all of their allies. So they deploy allies troops into Saudi Arabia on a mission called Operation Desert Shield, and Stormin Norman, as they called him, was the commander.
I wish I had a name like that.
So, the United Nations gives them the deadline to withdraw, or else, you know, they're going to have to respond with force and go and, you know, attack. But they ended up having to, of course, because Iraq wasn't going to back out of this. So, they went in with air support, and they took out all their air support and their buildings and their infrastructure, everything. Oh. So, then Iraq goes ahead and attacks Israel. And since Israel had a policy of retaliation, you know, they don't want Israel getting involved with that. So President Bush, who's now
president, obviously,
convinces Israel not to retaliate. So Iraq's stronghold ended up collapsing. Kuwait was liberated, and Iraq leads to an invasion of... My bad. They invaded Iran later on. But of course, they always seem to have to put up a fight with everybody.
It was just nothing but war and death.
I mean, a lot of people came back from the Gulf of War syndrome. Then they had Gulf of War syndrome, which was from all the chemicals used in the war.